Hi everybody, Peter of England. Today I'm giving you an update on Area 52 and its importance to you and why, if you haven't already joined, you should join. We've had a concerted and very consistent number of people joining over the last 2 years since it was launched. That was 21st of June 2023. But now what I'm trying to do is emphasize to you why you should join. This isn't just another commercial idea. It's not just another gimmick. It's something that's deeply entrenched within the religious, social, eschatological history of all religions, and why it is very important for you to make a stand, make an alignment, and to join with something in these, what you could only describe as these end times scenarios that are developing in the world. And what I mean by that is when you look out into the world, you can see everything is going chaotic. Believe you me, it isn't going to get better in the future. There is no plan for the New World Order agenda to make it more comfortable, and a golden age is not going to dawn upon you. What's going to happen is the introduction of this New World Order that has been on the secretive, covert, elitist 300 family agenda for several hundred years, if not millennia. So, the prophecies that are incorporated in the holy books of the world, whether that's the Bible or the Quran or the Jewish text, the Talmud, are all to do with what's happening towards the end of days. Whether you are religious, whether you are spiritual, whether you are an agnostic, an atheist, it doesn't matter what you believe. They are calling the tune, and you will be made to dance to it. So the cinema, the theatre that's continuously being projected onto you, the reactiveness of world populations is all and exclusively based on the media. Yeah? What gets shown to you on the TV, what gets shown to you in the newspapers or on YouTube by the so-called influencers, whether they're attacking people like the Tate brothers, whether they're attacking Tucker Carlson, whether they're attacking, it doesn't matter. It's always to promote a reaction. And while you're sitting there giving the thumbs up or criticizing, the roadshow continues, and the agenda that they're working on 24/7 all around the world, with many people on many computing platforms using AI, with the WEF and the WHO and all these other alphabet agencies, they're continuously dragging you towards an inexorable future. And that future is a plan. That's what you've got to understand quite clearly. And who are the people behind the plan? Well, if you don't actually know who the people behind the plan are, that's not so integral. What you do need to know, though, is or recognize that there is a plan, and it's being promoted by people other than you in the club, but that club is the thing they use to beat you over their head 24/7 until you comply. So there are a lot of voices out there. There are a lot of people explaining what the corruption and the atrocities of the world and the way it's going, but they haven't, as of yet, as far as I can see, provided you with a solution. And Area 52, which it says here quite specifically, was created for you, is the reason absolute today behind the video on why you should join it. Look at it as a commitment. Look at it as a signature move. If you believe in karma, if you believe in cause and effect, if you believe in none of it, but just like the idea of some type of belonging or an assurance, then it's for you. If you don't believe any of those things, it's for you, because time over the ages there have been prophecies, there have been statements about either the end of times, the end of the world, the end of a cycle, the end of an empire. So whichever those you care to take a look at, then Area 52 is what you're looking for, because it is a protective realm. It is something that has been spoken about in many of the scriptures that are more Buddhist traditional, as well as Hindu traditional, and the esoteric knowledge on places or books or works like the Keys of Enoch by Jacob Hurtak, all make reference to places at the end of times being made available for those people who have chosen, i.e. the chosen people, the people who have chosen themselves to do something about the state of the world that they're in. And a lot of these zones are dimensional. People like Padmasambhava, the great Buddha, he also predicted, as did one of the Tibetan masters of Sogyal Rinpoche, a guy called Lobsang Choikoi Kendro Ladro. He actually predicted, and he was the head of all doctrines within Tibet, he actually stated that around 2006, 2007, there would be calamities on the earth. He was referring to something called, and I'll write that down here, the crossing. Okay? So the Buddhists knew this, and the channelers, the spiritual directors of Buddhism, have long known that certain facts and certain astrological indications, as the Native American Indians knew, when these images begin to present, then it's a sign that things are not getting better, things are getting worse. And everyone can see it, how things are panning out in Europe. Look at Donald Trump now, the so-called magic of his first 30 or 50 days in office is now turning on the markets where it looks quite catastrophic. And what I'm saying for all of you out there in Europe, there will be eventually what's called capital controls introduced in Europe. They are looking for war. They're looking for war at any cost. You know why? Because they've rubbed you blind, and all the pension funds and the kitties are empty. And with the amount of inflationary borrowing that has been put out there, negative credit, there comes a time when the amount of interest on the credit is outstripping the ability to create any type of new money. People can't borrow anymore because there's nothing to do with it. So it's the escalator is coming to the end where you've got to get off it. And what they'll do, as they always do when the money gets short, or they see that there's a possibility people will find out their trick, they have a war. And a war is brilliant because it covers up everything, and everybody then gets to start again. So this is probably, or I would say definitely, why there seems to be this incessant drive by these people who are not the same as you, I assure you, to bring a war about between Russia and NATO or Europe. The first gunshot that goes off in Europe, that will be the introduction of capital controls. And the euro will probably collapse before the United States dollar, because that's, for the moment, still a protected area or far away. So the New World Order is planning to introduce whatever it can up until the time of the ultimate catastrophe. And this is like someone being pregnant, the time of the crossing, or, as in the Hebrew or Jewish tradition, the Passover. So that's what we're going to talk about or touch on today. So what's happening in the world is that the architects, the grand architects, the Masonic control agenda, in collusion with the, let's say, the 300 families or the 12 principal name families who run the world, in collusion with, are determined to get as far along with the plan until the catastrophic event if it arrives, that finally tips the table, the card table, with all the accounts and all the checkers and all the cards of the game of poker thrown on the floor. So everything is collapsing, and this disruption, and the fact that what they're also doing, and this is the Musks, and it is the Putins, and it is the Rothschilds, and it is the control grid, they're trying to bring the Arabs generally against the Christians for an end of times biblical scenario. Okay, so it's what's called an eschatological outcome. Now, what we have here, this reference over the Passover, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to make a reference because, you know, the Christians and the Arabs don't celebrate this event as much as the Jews. Now, the Jews could never be described as being lacking in intelligence. They have a seemingly genetic propensity for mathematics, astrology, for media, and for everything to do with the monetary system worldwide. And as a percentage of the global population, they hold a disparate proportion of highly qualified positions on the planet. That's a fact. It can't be denied. So they ain't stupid. They're intelligent. They might not be wise, but they know things. And one of the things they know or refer to in the Torah is typically what an event was described as the Passover or the crossing. Now, this Passover, I'm going to take this off now to make it a little bit easier for me to perform my magical board work. This Passover is celebrated, what's called the 15th day of Nisan. And Nissan you thought was the name of a Japanese car company. Okay, so the 15th Nisan, and this year the Feast of the Passover will be, I think it's April, I think it's the 12th or something to the 20th. And so it's a lunar event, and it happens every year at what's called the time of the first fruits. So that's basically the time of the first fruits is the spring equinox, which is March 21. Now, the Passover, biblically referred to in the Bible. So what I'm getting to here is the point why Area 52 is important, why you need to shield yourself, why you need to take solace or refuge there, because certain events are going to happen and you need to have, before you leave the earth, you need to avail yourself of the Bible. Basic instructions before leaving earth. And these basic instructions are join Area 52 for reasons which will become more and more apparent as we progress. So what I'm trying to do here is not sell you something, but to assure you that we need a collective. We need people to come in, and this can help us change reality. We will manifest it, and we can think it into ways that you could not imagine. You can't do it on yourself. You can't do it sitting at the side of the bed necessarily praying to God, who looks at prayers almost as junk mail. Because you need to take control of your own destiny, and we can help together collectively. So what we've got here is this event called the Passover. In the Bible, it's referred to in Exodus. And what's supposed to have happened, for those who are not very au fait with the Bible or some spiritual teachings, at this particular time, which on the Jewish calendar is a 3761 years ahead of the Gregorian calendar of 2025. So if you minus that off here, you get something like 1,700 BC-ish. Some event happened. That's where the calendar begins for these intelligent people who, by definition, look at themselves as being chosen or special. Because when they left Egypt and they crossed over the Red Sea, that's part of possibly what they're referring to with the crossing. But in Hebrew texts and also in the Bible, it states quite categorically that prior to the crossing, to protect themselves from the angel of death, and this is the wings of the planet that is often referred to as the 12th planet. What we have here is this was going to cause tectonic and disastrous climatic aberrations on the earth. The Jewish chosen people who'd aligned themselves with their gods, of the Abrahamic tradition, the Old Testament Yahweh God, or Jehovah, this is what the message was. In order to have protection from the angel of death, they were told to put 3 marks of lamb's blood on the lintel and the posts of their residence to denote that they were the people of the crossing, the Niburians, which could also be Hiburians, which phonetically over time, and look it up to see that the N and the H are sufficiently proximate for mispronunciation for Nibiru and Hebreans to simply become Hebrews or Nibiru's. Yeah? So it's as phonetically close as for UK, as an example, someone in the south of England saying fish and chips. Would you like some fish and chips? And someone in Birmingham saying, I'd like some fish and chips, mate. Okay? So phonetically, don't worry, but the 3 dots in blood, which is also something that if you go and do any research, most of the Masonic traditions will use to punctuate things like G for grand, and then they'll have 3 dots here, and then they'll have another one which will be an M, and they'll put their 3 dots in again, symbolizing Grand Master. That isn't what we're looking at or working on too much at the moment, but what we want to realize is these 3 symbols here are the same things. It's called in Hebrew the segol. And it's a part of punctuation in the language. Traditionally, also, it meant, as a secret sign to Masonic traditions, stop here. They used to put these at tavernas where Masonic meetings would take place, or esoteric information was being dispensed, or there was some type of code. You also get those 3 golden balls at pawn shops, you know, where you exchange your watch or you exchange a piece of gold for something or whatever it is. So that's what we're looking at here. So I'm covering a lot of these things. There's no end to how far I can progress with this, but this is YouTube and it isn't the place to dig so deep in it. If you're finding it of interest, and I hope you are, then make some comment, and what we'll do is we'll arrange a webinar where we can discuss more of this specifically at length, as long as you put in what type of things interest you. But what we're doing is we're tying Area 52 in with all of this esoteric knowledge that the elite, that the Elon Musks and the Farages and the Trumps and the Biden clan and the Bushes, that Putin knows, and the big event that they are supposedly not revealing to you, which is possibly on the horizon, why it's so critical for them to eradicate as many people off the planet as they can at no cost to them, because as far as they know or are concerned, you're going to be decimated by tectonic and earth-moving future problems, is around about 2026 to 2000, I think. The Buddhist master, Shoikoi Kendro Ladro, put it as 26 to 27 or 8. So we're definitely now in the crosshairs for this crossing, which these very intelligent and very socially insular people, the chosen people who have chosen themselves to segregate and not mix with the outside world. The problem with all of that is when you do things like that, you create yourself as being different. If you define yourself as different, therefore you define yourself as special. Anything that is special is not like anything other, and therefore it has to activate a defense mechanism, because it always presumes that differences will attack each other. And that's why you get this propensity for the Jewish race to almost create their own destiny by being so insular and not mixing the blood, why they don't interact. Now, you could say that of other sects, but mainly these are the people that are in control of the observatories. They're controlling of written, not only the financial papers, but the scientific papers. Any major discovery, generally in the last 200 or 300 years, there's probably been someone of Hebraic or Jewish connection with it. Just a fact. So we've tied all this together, I hope. And so what's going to happen, and what the elites know, is that there is going to be a celestial event which will trigger certain actions. And Area 52 is one of those domains, and the should we say, the angelic, or if you prefer, extraterrestrial help that's behind this is your assurance that things don't necessarily have to go the way that the mainstream want you to go. It's a simple case at the moment of really looking what's happening in the world and joining up these dots. You can see that things are getting worse, and there is war on the door. The beat of the war drum in the distance is getting closer, and I don't know one leader in the world that's advocating peace, apart from the faux peace that Donald Trump is trying to promote, which will probably end up as, look, I tried to do a good job after all, but it all went wrong. I really did try. Fingers behind the back, because he's nothing more than a Jesuit Farage working with stooge that has brought people like Elon Musk in, and a range of others, J.D. Vance and people who've come from nowhere, to now help promote the controversy. And this masquerade, this theater for children with Zelensky a few weeks ago. Does anybody buy that? It's obviously it was staged. It's obvious, as my grandma would say to a blind man on a galloping horse. It was totally staged. Just as the attempted assassination on the Savior, the Messiah, was staged. Have any of you looked recently at the ear, the right ear of our amazing Savior, who's hated by everybody? Oh, Not one mark. A hypersonic bullet passed by his ear, blood everywhere, and there's not even a scratch on it. But all just passes by in the wake of the ship as we move further into an inevitable what, I don't know. But you've got to start thinking. And you need to think, or really maybe stop thinking. Just do something intuitive and do something spontaneous and come with us and join with us. And as the more and more of our crowd grows, our people of the crossing, what we will do is we will discuss more and more things and show you how to make life a lot easier. So it's a collective. It's Area 52. You need to go to area52.life. I'll just put that in just for the people, because I'll put all the stuff in the description below. But it's area52.life. There are passports available, diplomatic passports. There are diplomatic ID cards and what's called declaration of a new nationality available for people. We're also, since the last 2 weeks now, rolling out the number plates, which are diplomatic plates for the car you drive. So these are solutions. We are solutionaries as well as revolutionaries. So this is a form of creative dissent. We need you to be involved with it and help us to get through. So please make a comment if you want for me to drill down on any particular information in future. And if those of you who are interested in an up-and-coming webinar, let me know in the comments and we will see what we can do. Thank you.